Thanks, Peter. Yeah, great to be here again, and great to be moving forward with Reyna Gold. We've now been up and running almost 2 months on the capital markets, and getting close to announcing initial drilling. Hopefully, within the next month, we start getting our initial drill results. But let me start at the beginning. Reyna Gold has been put together on the thesis that northwestern Mexico has a lot of potential for gold exploration, and the gold trends from California, Nevada, Arizona continue down into northwestern Mexico, and have really had a fraction of the attention that they've had across the border in the US. So we put together what we think is a world-class exploration team led by Dr. Peter McGaul and Doug Kerwin. And then we've added a lot of very strong local Mexican geologists under the guidance of Peter and Doug. Delighted with the initial results that the team is getting. And then in total, we raised $13.6 million. We have about $10.5 million in the bank today. So well capitalized and looking to make some good progress during the course of 2022. So this is the concept of Reyna Gold, and Sonora is now the biggest gold producing state in Mexico, and our view, a lot of geologists' view, is that these gold trends continue into Sonora and Chihuahua, and the potential is vast. La Herradura is the biggest gold mine in Mexico. It's just about 50 kilometers up on trend from our flagship La Gloria property, and that's almost been a 16 million ounce deposit now. 15.7 million ounces have been discovered there by Fresnillo. They produce about 500,000 ounces a year, and this is what Peter calls an elephant. When he knows there's one elephant in the area, there's generally more than one. So there are big prizes in this part of the world. It's relatively underexplored. So delighted with the properties and delighted to be advancing them and moving Reyna Gold forward. This is the capital structure. In total, we have 66 million shares on issue. At our current share price, we're about 21 million market cap with 10.5 million in the bank. So quite an attractive entry point for investors from an EV perspective. We're expecting, once we start to get drill results out, a lot of people I talk to say, sounds great, show me some drill results. So I think there's a lot of pent-up buying waiting for some drill results. And also, we're going to be listed in the OTC in the US shortly. Actually, just got guidance yesterday. Should be up and running within 2 to 3 weeks in America. So hopefully by the end of April, trading on the OTC, and then start getting drill results out kind of mid to early April is the aim. We have a lot of institutional shareholders that supported us on Reyna Silver. So great to have such strong institutions in from the start of the company as cornerstone investors. Peter and Doug, I think most people are familiar. Two great exploration geologists, both made major discoveries. Peter most famously for Juanicipio with MAG, and Doug most famously for Otogo for Robert Friedland and Ivanhoe. And great to have their guidance with the younger local Mexican team underneath operating on the ground. Ariel Navarro is our VP of exploration. He's a third generation prospector from Sonora. He has really put together kind of his generation of geologists. Ariel is 42. You can see work for Pan America and Newmont Gold, really cut his teeth at the majors, and he's hired geologists like himself. Hidel Garcia's come from Fresnillo, was working at La Herradura up the road prior to joining Reyna Gold. And then we've also hired geologists from Agnico Eagle, Alamos Gold, Pan American Silver, and most recently, actually, just a gentleman from GR Silver joined 2 weeks ago. In addition, we also have Dr. Castelo Molina on the board. Ketro was running coal mining in Mexico until 2020. He's a geologist by background as well, good friends with Peter and Ariel and his dad, and has really fit into the team very well, giving good guidance to the technical team. So moving on to the property portfolio, La Gloria is the core asset of the company. It's a core focus of the company, definitely for the first half of 2022. And we feel is relatively, like Sonora as a whole, relatively underexplored. It's a big land package right by multiple big operating mines, and it's really had very little exploration done on it. 13,000 meters and 5,000 samples, and it's really been sitting with no activity since about 2013. So delighted to have put the package together from a number of local claim owners, and moving the property forward. The team has been active on the property really since last August. We have a rental house in Caborca. They're well established now on the property, really getting a good understanding, and hopefully keep producing good results. El Durazno is the second focus. Also a big land package, similar size, 24,000 hectares over on the Sierra Madre Gold and Silver Belt. And then the final two properties also very prospective, but not core focus of the company at this stage. So this is the Mojave Sonora Megashear. It comes down from California into Sonora. In total, about 35 million ounces of gold have now been discovered on the trend. And we're really focused in and around the city of Caborca, what the locals call the Caborca Gold Belt. running up from Alcinete through the three Fresnillo operating mines. So this is just zooming in. You can see there's a land package of Coria, really great infrastructure for an exploration project. There is a LAS lab in Caborca. Alcinete is plugged into the grid, so we could easily get electricity to the property if we so desire. And lots of other mining services and labor in Caborca. So great location for an exploration project, really can answer better, and also for production, hopefully down the line. Now, this is zoning into the property. You can see we have these two regional fault lines running parallel across the property, in total stretching of 75 kilometers across our property. And we've identified now 11 target areas on the property, highlighted in yellow. And we're really focused in and around this western part of the property. The initial drilling is here at the main zone and extending into El Sombrero. And we've got a lot of targets also down here at La Quintas West already. And then also doing some work up here, finding a lot of veins and veins at surface in California around La Republica, but initially focusing in the main zone area and expanding out really in all directions on this western part of the property. So in the main zone, we have three target areas: Big Pit, which is a shear zone; Pique Bajo, which is a collection of quartz veins; and then Placer areas where we found a number of mineralized structures. And really drilling all three of these targets right now. And then we'll expand out into El Sombrero, and I'll go through in more detail the targets shortly. But there's a lot of visible gold at surface. So you can see there's some visible gold under the microscope, and quite easy to go and pan for gold in particularly the Big Pit area and get some gold nuggets. There's a lot of gold at surface, and that was backed up by these sample results. We got up to 93 grams, which is a fantastic sample result, and our orogenic gold system, but also a lot of other high-grade samples and a lot of positive samples. Now, these are heap leachable deposits on a Mojave or mega shear. The average grade is about 0.5, so you're operating at a cutoff of 0.1, 0.2. So you can see here almost 80% of the sample results from the shear zone at Big Pit came back with positive gold. We did a little bit of sampling over on the eastern part of the property, really focused in and around the main zone initially with our exploration program. These are then the initial 22 drill holes that we put out when we started drilling on February 10th. We've actually just completed hole 9 now. So moving pretty well, and aiming to get kind of the first 5 to 7 holes out in the early mid part of April. That's kind of guidance from the lab actually last week. We're on track for that. So aiming to get results out really as soon as we can. I think a lot of people are interested to see our initial drill results, and then we'll have a steady stream of results after this initial kind of window that we've had. We're constantly now getting holes into the lab, and then hopefully we have a steady stream of results over the coming months, over the summer period, and really start to show mineralization multiple parts of this property. This is a 2,000 hectare area, so just this in itself is a big area, and hopefully we can start to show positive drill results in multiple parts. But the aim of this initial drilling really is to look at this shear zone in the Big Pit area, hopefully identify some greater widths than previously we've done. Best result historically was about 25 meters. We're aiming for kind of 40 to 50 meters of thickness here, and also show expansions out. And we believe there's also a lot of the mineralization actually trends on the regional trend, the northwest southeast. So we also believe there's a developing structure running from Placeras up into Big Pit and might actually morph into one target area. Then once we move out into El Sombrero, we're finding a lot of lineaments running on this regional trend. We're finding a high correlation in this part of property between arsenic and gold mineralization. That's helping the team identify more targets. I think we'll definitely be adding to these targets. We've been doing a fair bit of work recently, actually, in this area between target 19 and 20, and finding a lot of veins and veins at surface. So definitely we plan to add holes. These initial 22 holes, about 3,000 meters in total. The board's already approved 10. So I think we're already discussing adding holes to these initial 22 and keep a drill rig on site and keep exploring this part of property initially over the coming few months. So just to finish up then, really, Catalyst, we are underway with our initial 10,000 meter drilling. Those first 22 holes, about 3,000 meters, but the intention is to keep drilling and hopefully have good news flow coming over the summer period. We also continue with extensive trenching, sampling, and mapping on the property. We have 2 teams focused on the trenching, sampling, and mapping, and we have 1 team focused on the drilling. And then just to highlight the nature of the property, we have the same host rocks as a lot of the deposits on the trend, but it's sedimentary host rocks. We're finding shear zones, we're finding high angle structures, which is exactly what you want to see in our orogenic system. There's a lot of existing infrastructure in place, very easy to permit in this part of the world and very low cost operation. Our drilling total, we budgeted $180 US per meter. And then, delighted with the team. It's great to have the guidance of Peter and Doug. We believe we put a really strong local Mexican team together under their guidance. and really looking forward to advancing the property, hopefully substantially during the course of 2022. So that's it, Peter. Thanks very much for having me, and yeah, fascinated to hear if there's any questions.